Hi, in this video, we are going to learn about UiPath Forms, the new features that has been introduced within UiPath Forms, and how it can help you in tackling certain kind of scenarios within your use case. And as an example scenario, we are going to look at updating a customer within a mortgage scenario. And for that, let's assume that we are going to get the customer details from some kind of system in an Excel format. And this is what the customer details will look like. We will have the customer ID, the name, whether the customer is at risk, the email address, the loan amount, the start date, the EMI, and of course, the branch from where this particular mortgage is going to operate. Now you will have the partially built workflow available with you. And in here, you also have a form that is there, but it is not perfect at the moment. And we are going to use the new features that has been introduced within the form to achieve the kind of functionality that we would like to see within this particular form. So let's look at the things that are missing at the moment. So the first thing that you notice is the big empty space within this form, and that is to actually accommodate uh, one of the mortgage calculator that we want to provide to the agents, which is something like this. You generally go ahead and punch in the loan amount, the rate of interest, the time, the month that is given to the customer to pay, and it will quickly calculate the EMI. We want this to be embedded within the UiPath form for the agents as well. So we are going to do that in the empty space that you see. And apart from that, there are a couple of other things that we want to improve. First of all, when we click on skip, we actually want to skip the case without closing the form, which means we want to bypass the validation for the current case. Similarly, there is a button called close. When we click on close, we want to bypass the validation and we want to close the form because we imagine that the agent is not going to work on the mortgage anymore. Apart from that, there are certain other things that we need to keep a check on. For example, the start date and start time is provided. However, we only need the date, so we will see how to tackle that. And then we have this drop down menu where we want to enable the searching of the actual address by utilizing some kind of uh, branch code that is already provided. Right now it's not possible, so we have to enable that as well. And that's it. That's all we need to do. So let's start building the form. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to embed the calculator within this particular form. And for that, we are going to use the HTML content that is already provided, and we want to fill its value. But before we do that, I also want to show you another thing. So in the code of your HTML file that you're going to embed, make sure that any reference to a local file is followed by the file tag, the same way that we used to do within the UiPath forms. The same thing has to be followed in the index file as well, because it is going to run from the context of the form. So you have to make these modifications in any HTML file that you're going to embed, and that is using another file from your local system before you can embed them and it works correctly within the UiPath forms. Once you do this one, you can go ahead and embed the file within your UiPath forms using the iframe tag, and it will look something like this. So I'm providing the source file by following the file tag and then providing the actual location of the calculator, and then I'm providing the height and the width. Let's increase the height by 50 pixel more. All right. Once I have this, I can save it. And if I preview this, I'll be able to see the calculator embedded within this one. Awesome. The next thing that I want to do is I want to change the property of the button to achieve the functionality that we were talking about. So first of all, let's say on the skip, I want to skip the validation, but don't want to close the form per se. So I can simply change the action to click, which will skip the validation altogether. And similarly, in the close button, I want to skip the validation, which I can achieve by changing the action to click. And I also want to close the form, which I can simply do by putting on the property close on submit and setting it to true. So the behaviors of the button will change in here. The next thing that I want to do is I want to make this field accept only the date and not time. Now you have the possibility of eliminating any of those things. So I can simply uncheck this particular box and you will see the change in the format preview here. This means it is only going to accept the date. So I can just go ahead and save it here now and it will display only the date format. And next thing that I want to do, I want to improve upon the searching capability of this drop down list. So the drop down list is now made of choice.js, and there are a lot of properties that you can play around. So there are a couple of improvements within the searching capabilities. First of all, if you want, uh, by default, the searching works on the first 60 characters of the drop down items. If you want to go ahead and search for more characters, more than 60 characters, you can select this particular option, which will do an exact match. And apart from that, you have the option of using the choice.js, which will help you in modifying certain behavior of the drop down list that you have. For example, right now I want to search the item by using the values instead of the label, and I can do that just by providing one of the options that is part of the choice.js called search fields. And that search fields is going to accept the value as an array, and I can go ahead and save this. With that, we have completed all the changes that we wanted to do within this form. I can go ahead and save this, and let's try to run and see how it works. So you can see that the loan calculator is already embedded and is available for me to work with it. Uh, let's go ahead and do that for the first customer that we have. And let's provide a rate of 8%, and then let the month to pay off be 15. We will get the monthly payment amount, which will become our EMI. The next thing that we improved was the searching of the branch. We made it possible to search by codes. So if I do SB1, that probably is referring to one of the departments. Similarly, if we do SB7, that is another department that they are referring to. So the searching works. I can select the branch as well. And when I go ahead and select the start date, you no longer see the time piece of it. You can simply go ahead and select the exact year and exact time when the start date is going to happen, and I can submit the case. So submitting works, right? And we have the next customer that is there for us to work on, and I can do that. But let me just explore on how the skip button is working now. So if I skip on this, the validation should be bypassed, the form should not be closed, and the new customer should be loaded, which has happened. And now this particular customer is at risk, so I cannot work with this one. I can skip it again, and the customer has been skipped. and the new customer is at risk as well. So let's go ahead and close this particular case for now. So when I close, I should be able to exit the form altogether, and that's what happened. Now my robot has stopped, and the one case that we worked on, that has been updated in the customer details. So like that, we were able to improve the forms functionality. As a recap, what we did is to embed the JavaScript enabled HTML page right within the form by using the iframe tag. And then we looked at providing functionality of skipping the validation by changing the action to skip. Similarly, we did for the close button as well, with an addition of closing the forms. We also saw that now it is possible to change the format of datetime to just date or just time. And we also saw how to make modification to the drop down list by using choice.js options. And with that, we have come to the end of the presentation for forms. Thank you for watching.